You know who else is funny and who's not black? Neil.
You said that shit like there's like it's impossible for a white person to be funny.
I mean,
Oh, that was funny. But who? Oh my god.
Neil Brennan. Neil Brennan.
Neil Brennan is like the brainstorm behind Chappelle too.
He's hilarious.
So funny.
Oh,
she done got made up. Okay.
Oh, yeah. She came in wrecked to serve the children. Oh, who is that fashion icon that lives here in New York and she's 95?
Iris.
Yes, you are giving me.
She came
Iris
through
vibes.
She said Iris, bitch.
Yes, I'm
Iris.
loving it.
I love those
loving
glasses.
it.
Iris is one of my idols.
She's
She is
phenomenal.
Hey community, it's Dr. Crystal. What's brewing today, aunties?
Introducing Auntie Nico.
Ask your aunties, black men, and PrEP.
And vote for your life. So get your cups ready for Minoritea Report.
And then here we go. We'll get into the episode 88.
88.
So, here we go.
Oops. Crazy 88s. Love that scene from
Kill Bill.
Yes. Oh, that crazy 88s when they start coming out like cockroaches. Oh, so good.
Never seen
And the scene when she was fighting
that's right.
Go-Go.
Wait a minute. Hold on. He has never seen Kill Bill.
How have you not?
You are missing out on life.
Hold on. Let's clap and get into it then.
What?
And we'll talk about Kill Bill. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so back to the conversation. How have you not seen? How have you not seen Kill Bill? And by the way, community,
never seen Kill Bill. And I think we talked about this on the episode before.
And let me just say,
I don't know why I haven't.
I'm just going to put this out there. In my opinion, Vivica A. Fox and whatever the white girl's name is. Yes.
That fight scene.
That is the best female fight scene and arguably the best fight scene I've ever seen in any movie ever in life.
Better than The Matrix?
Yes. Better than The Matrix.
Yes. Better than The Matrix.
Vivica A. Fox. Vivica A. Fox is a married woman in the suburbs, but her life back in the day was an assassin. Her kids are at school or whatever, and here come Uma Thurman trying to settle a score. So they having a knockdown, drag out fight in the fucking living room.
Go to the
all
kitchen.
the way into the kitchen, throwing knives, and you see Vivica A. Fox she said, "I got a couple pounds, but I ain't lose no fight."
Look, the best part is when she's like, "Come on, bitch. Come on, bitch." She got the knife in one hand. She kicking the shit off the floor in the other hand. She ready to whoop that ass.
Yeah, I have not seen it.
Is
it like on Netflix or something now?
It's on Netflix.
It's on
Netflix.
Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
It's literally that.
It could be how we even got on this. It's episode 88 today. So 88 spirit.
The crazy 88.
Is the whole trilogy on Netflix now?
Just the two. Just volume 1 and 2. Because they haven't done the third. They haven't done the third yet. Yeah, not yet. And the rumor is that they're waiting for Vivica A. Fox's daughter to grow up in real life, and then to have her play the character. I remember that from
the previous.
Yeah, because that's something that
Quentin
Tarantino
who
would
did they
do.
want? I think we brought it up that they wanted someone's particular.
I think they wanted it Zendaya. They wanted Zendaya to play her daughter.
That's right. And
then,
I still haven't watched it.
Yeah.
That first movie, in my opinion, the first movie was the best of the two. But that fight scene.
Big toe. I just like
and then the truck, the name of the truck,
Pussy Wagon.
Yeah.
The only reference I know of that's the Lady Gaga and Beyonce video.
Yes.
That's all I know.
It's just so damn good. It's so good. It is.
Community,
so good.
We're starting hot off the press today. And if you heard a fourth voice, it's Dr. Crystal is in the house.
Hey.
And Dr. Crystal, what is your auntie name?
Auntie Nico.
Nico.
Yes.
Jarrell, if you ever go to Espresso Vivace on Broadway, it's one of their specialty lattes there.
Oh, okay. I'll go check it out. Okay. Yeah, I haven't been there yet.
Yeah.
And Dr. Nico is the queer doc. And they is on to tell us all about just issues that affect our community. We reached out to you to get specific questions that is on your hearts and minds. Before we get into that, how long have you been practicing? What made you want to be a doctor? Like,
tell us the story.
Tell her the background.
Once upon a time, I was born. Right? Okay. No, I am board certified in family medicine and board eligible in addiction medicine, and I own a private practice focused on LGBTQ care. And most of what I do is gender affirming care through that practice, and it's all online. It's all video visits. Before the COVID happened, I was already there, so that was kind of nice.
Okay, ahead of her time.
Yeah. And I like, lame answer to why I wanted to be a doctor. Like, I just wanted to help people. Like, it's not very.
That ain't lame.
Nah.
Don't let them people try to steal your thunder. That is not lame. We need people like you.
And then like and so I was actually in school for nutrition and was about to get done and realized they were going to pay me like less than 10 grand a year that I had been in school, right? So like,
where they do that at?
I was going to graduate with my bachelor's and make like less than 10,000 per year. I was in school and I was like, I just don't think this is what I'm wanting. So I was like, what else can I do? So I went to med school and
I'm just going
to education.
I'm not going to become an accountant. No,
it's fine. Well, I did that, and then I didn't realize. Oh, that's my sweetie bringing me dinner. Thank you so much.
Oh,
hi, sweetie.
Hey, sweetie.
They hate being on camera. I didn't understand that they were going to be on camera.
Great. Oh, I like the mohawk.
Yes.
They're real cute. But yeah, so I went to med school because I was like, oh, they'll pay me more than that, right? I didn't realize how much med school costs. So I don't think the math actually worked out in my favor. But I get to be called doctor, which is fabulous.
Absolutely.
Because it's non-binary as far as titles go. And I have a non-binary gender identity. So I get to bypass the whole like Mr. Mrs. thing.
Yeah,
so I
that's
love
awesome.
It. Yeah.
And community, if you're not watching this episode on YouTube, this is the episode to watch.
You need to be watching.
Because the outfit, everything, the glasses. Here.
She came with the energy.
Yes. So generally non-binary, but if you wanted to get very specific, high femme, and I love vintage fashion, like super hard. And do some queer burlesque in Seattle. So
yes, I've seen a few shows. Yes, I live for it.
Yes. Have you seen Mod Carousel? Because I feel like you might like their bodies.
I have not yet. I've only seen 2, and both of them were at Queer Bar. Yeah. And then there was another one that a friend of mine was doing, but I didn't end up going. But yeah,
DeJuan, it sounds like when Miss Rona's out, we need to make a trip to Seattle.
Right?
Yes. Those legs, do you see those legs back there?
Yes.
Those are legs. I thought those were arms, like Evita.
That's oh my gosh, can I get it closer?
Absolutely.
Let's see. No.
Why am I leaning in? Like, I'm going to see it better.
Same here. I'm like.
That's Paris. I don't know if you can see. That's Paris original, and he's in leopard and a pony and heels, up behind a table with a glass of wine.
Here for it.
At Pony. Yes. Oh, I love it.
So yes, we should go see Mod Carousel when we can. They're all beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people.
I'd be down for a little Seattle trip, Kerel. What about you?
Let's do it. I've never been, so I've been due.
Oh, you've never been in Seattle?
Never been.
Okay. All right.
That pocket in that corner, the highest I've been on the West Coast is Sonoma. So after that, it's just like a Whole new world.
The last time I was in Seattle, I went on a pity interview with Amazon just so I could see them too.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
We couldn't say it on the podcast. We couldn't say it on the podcast. That's so funny.
Yep. I interviewed with Amazon. They flew me out there. I was like, oh, good. I didn't want the job. I'm living in New York. I'm not moving. But I was like, you know what? This is a free trip for me to fly out there and get to see my boys. So I'm about to do this.
But Amazon, if you want to sponsor us, please let us know on this Amazon Prime Day. Thank you.
Exactly.
So anyway, Dr. Crystal, I don't know, we're all over the place, but so you got into practice and all that. So why specifically the queer community? Did you see like there was a missing lane?
I'm super fucking queer.
Well, Avi.
I'm here for that energy.
Here for it.
Yeah.
When you were going into medical school, had you identified as within your queerness?
Yes.
Or was that okay?
Very much so. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So I grew up in the Southeast. I grew up in North Florida, in Tallahassee, and I ended up going back there for medical school. So really fun place to be.
When you're a queer person.
Yeah, right. But I was already like out, and I never I just identify as queer and like a human and like a sexual human, and that's like, I can get more specific, but generally I don't think those more specific terms are super helpful for me. And so I went to med school as a very out queer person. I helped start with one of my best friends in med school, who's now a urologist. Imagine a gay man.
He gets to see all that.
We started the Gay and Lesbian Medical Student Association at Florida State University College.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. What a legacy.
I wanted to
That's
go to
great.
Florida State so bad. Like I applied, got accepted, but then they were only going to give me like $5,000 in like scholarships. So I was like, okay, nope, you're too expensive. Sorry. But I'm so jealous about Florida State.
I actually had a track and field scholarship there.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had a track and field scholarship opportunity there.
See, the universe works to bring people together.
But it was too damn hot. First of all, it's already hot in the Midwest, and I didn't like running outside already. You wouldn't get my ass in Florida.
That part.
And then
they got them Zika mosquitoes down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's still a spring sport too. So I mean, who runs in 100-degree weather like that? No.
Not I.
Yeah. There are big ass bugs down there too. So no.
So how did you venture to Seattle from Florida then?
I really wanted to be somewhere that being queer was not weird.
Yeah.
I feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. I had enough access and privilege and opportunities that I could do that. So when it was time to pick a residency training program, which is like the thing we do after med school, I really looked in Seattle and Portland. I was like, I want to end up in.
Was it because of Grey's Anatomy?
Yes. That would need to be off the record.
Right. That literally is like what all I knew Seattle to be for the longest. Watching Grey's Anatomy in college, was everything.
Low key, same here. That was like outside of my partner, that was the only reason why I ever made the list. And for the longest time, I thought they were really filming here. Right. So I was like, I'm gonna go to Seattle and get on TV. No, they still down in California filming most of it. Every now and then they will do some shots up here in Seattle.
That's like Queer Spoke. That's filmed in Toronto, but it's supposed to be like Pittsburgh.
Yeah. They just catch a few trademark landmarks and then
and they out.
But yeah.
Okay, so you made it to Seattle. You start your practice. So how long has your practice been around?
Yeah. Started in the summer of 2018. So we've been open for 2 years. So I was in residency from 2012 to 2015. And then I was like, what am I doing with my life? And kind of bounced around in different fields within my field. I did some hospice work, which was really beautiful and amazing, but I was commuting pretty far. So that was just a bad fit. And then just kind of did substitute doctoring. You can kind of substitute doctor, you can substitute teacher while I was trying to sort things out. and that was with Kaiser Permanente, and they needed someone to help with their PrEP program, and they needed someone to help with their gender care. And they were like, oh, you're not going to be mean and judgmental and shitty to people. And so
as most doctors are.
Some of us are.
I had a judgy ass doctor in Indiana.
Right? Some of us are. So, yeah, they were like, you're going to roll with it when you're talking to someone about PrEP. And they're like, you're like, how many people have you had, like partners have you had in the past 3 months? And they're like, 200. You're going to be like, sweet, let's move on. You're not going to like, be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Jerome space.
Look, you said 200 and my mind was just like, ouch. Like, I just didn't know. Like, I mean, I'm not shaming. I'm very sex positive. Go for it.
Not shaming. Well, Jarrell, it depends on if you're topping or bottoming.
That part.
I mean,
200 in a week. That's a lot of
3 months. 3 months.
Oh, 3 months. Oh, okay. That's different. That's doable.
I was like, I got it.
2 a day, 2 a day.
I could knock that out.
Yeah.
It's like, how am I gonna work?
Right. Oh.
Well,
it might be work.
With those,
it might be work.
Yeah, usually with people that have that kind of statistic, it is their work, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, so that was super fun. And kind of while I was doing that, I was also doing primary care. And I was like, this part of my job is way more fun than the primary care part. And at the same time, like all of my community was like, why aren't you taking care of us? Like, it's really dumb. And I was like, okay. So I just decided to
peer pressured you into doing this work.
No, for sure.
Leave it up to the LGBT community.
Right.
It's also that's also a testimony to their work, though, that they're really good if the community is asking them to, look out for us. So that's amazing.
Thanks. I mean, they're my community, so of course they think I'm cool.
We can be a judge ass
has not been everyone's experience.
So how did you end up doing more online than like in person?
Yeah, so I have like, a shit ton of student loans, and opening up an in-person practice is pretty cost prohibitive. Like paying like lease or mortgage or whatever, or rent is a super big risk. And I was not interested in adding like a business loan to my student loans. So, and
a lot of upfront collateral.
Yeah.
A lot of upfront collateral.
And small private practices like aren't making it right in this economy. Like healthcare is really turning into a giant healthcare system run thing. Right. And even like the systems in Seattle, Jarrell, are getting like bought up, and like most of them are becoming part of Catholic organizations, which is super concerning.
Oh, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. So Swedish got bought by Providence, like within the past couple of years, and Virginia Mason's getting bought out by Franciscan, which is another Catholic health organization. So access to reproductive care is like, we're concerned about like what's going to happen with that in Seattle. So yeah, private practices don't make it and they're expensive, and I'm already in a wee bit of debt. So, and I like to shop, if you didn't notice.
These glasses are everything.
Well,
I'm a glasses connoisseur, so I'm looking like
more accessible. So there was like kind of those motivators, but a big part of what I was doing in gender care and PrEP, like particularly with PrEP, it was already through KP. We did so much by phone visits. Like, they had a primary care provider within the KP system, and then I just like checked in over the phone and did like an intake over the phone, and like went over their labs with them, and like went, and did it that way. So like that was already remote. And then with gender care, like, and here's the thing, right, in all of our community, but even more so in gender diverse parts of our community, like trauma has happened at much higher rates than in like the cis het population. And discrimination in doctors' offices has happened, and in healthcare has happened at much higher rates. And so like I was just really finding that I was not like doing any hands-on like exams or like having people take their clothes off or like any of that kind of stuff to do gender care. Like we were having 2 45-minute intake appointments where we did a lot of talking. Like, you told me about your gender, you told me about the goals for your gender care, I told you about the potential treatment options and risk and benefits, and we came up with a plan. And it was like, I wasn't doing a lot of the other like regular doctoring stuff, right? Listening to the stethoscope or this, that, or the other. And also, FYI, like, we don't need to see your genitals. All those doctors who are seeing trans people and like, I need to see what's in your pants, like, just fucking leave. Like, that's not even appropriate. So, yeah, I just found like, I think I can do this in a way that still meets the standard of care and that still provides like high quality care, but I can like make it affordable for myself to start up, and I can make it way more accessible for people who don't live in an urban core where we have like easier access to gender affirming care, right? So like, and I have a ton of patients in Eastern Washington, rural Washington, and I also do a lot of care in Alaska. So I have like patients, you know, in villages of like 400 people, and they would never be able to get into Seattle to get care or Anchorage. So
what would you say is like, as you think about your journey so far and making the decision and building your practice and to where you are today, like what would you say is like the biggest like self-learning, the thing that you learned about yourself, your journey, insights?
Ask for help. Like, I think I grew up, you know, in the Southeast with like an upper middle class, like white attorney father who like always pressured me to like do better. And like had this whole like bootstraps idea that like he has succeeded because of his hard work, and has nothing to do with his privilege. And so I think for me, it was really hard. Like, I felt like I was supposed to always know the answers and be able to do things perfectly. And the biggest part of my journey for me was learning that like, I don't always have to know the answers, and I can say that, and I can ask for help. Yeah, so like I've had you saw the lovely person who brought me my dinner. They like, definitely, I took a couple of months off of work to get like the business up and running and started. And I was not making any money. And they like definitely helped take care of me and support me, you know, and helped me get started. And like, I never would have been able to do it without them.
That's awesome.
I may have missed this earlier, but did you say the name of your business? Would you like to share that with the community, like in case, like for resources or for the community?
Yeah, it's called Queer Doc. So it's like all online, queerdoc.com. And it's a medical clinic online, but there's a ton of resources on the website just that are good general information for the LGBTQ population. In the Southeast, who's in Atlanta?
This
Kerel?
guy. Yes.
There's another doctor, Dr. Izzy Lau, doing something kind of similar at queermed.com in the Southeast. So that's pretty fabulous as well.
Yeah, because like even like during our check-in the other day, I was just saying it took me all the way to Chicago for me to have a doctor that was queer, wasn't judgy, you know, especially like when I like lived in Indiana. And I know there's a couple people that live in Indiana that listen that had the same doctor, that have the same doctor. And so I'm sure they're cracking up because he was so judgy about everything. So it made me almost hide even more when I needed to be more truthful and outcoming with your doctor. You know, it's like, and just thinking back, it's just like, God, it could have put me at so much more risk for STIs and, you know, just things that you were not comfortable. And I guess I didn't have the know-how, and maybe the internet isn't exactly what it is today to leave and try to find another doctor, you know? And so it's just like, I always kind of felt like I was stuck. And it took me until I moved to Chicago to finally have a gay doctor that knew what I was going through, that knew, like, I felt free to be able to talk about the issues or whatever it may be going on. And since then, for the last almost decade of my life, I've been able to find gay, queer doctors in each city that I've lived in. Like, I lived in Chicago, moved to Dallas. And when I was in Dallas, I actually went to the Dallas Buyers Club doctor office, like, facilities now. And then now living here in Atlanta, once again, been able to find gay doctors. And just how freeing that is like incredible. And then just to be able to poke their brain and pick their brain about PrEP or whatever it may be is so freeing for the community. So I love that you said that you're helping like the villages of Alaska that might not have that, because I've been in that predicament where I don't feel comfortable with the care that's in my area.
Yeah, and like for me, like I'm on like the different side of that spectrum as far as when it comes to doctor. Like growing up, not really having access to healthcare, and being able to grow up learning how important it is to take care of your health. Like I went to the doctor every 2 years, like I was supposed to, because the school required you to have your shots and have a physical. And for sports, I needed to have those things. And outside of those things, like I never really got sick. If I did, I got like the regular flu or something of the sort like that. But I've never broken anything. I never had any cavities or anything. So I've never had or needed to go to the hospital for anything outside of when I was supposed to for school. And unfortunately, that also kind of created like this lack of desire, or this lack of, it just didn't put the importance on it going into my adulthood. So like I was saying earlier before we started recording, like I made an appointment to see, a doctor tomorrow, and I'm going, everything's good. I'm going just to finally do what I'm supposed to been doing. And it's been over a decade since I've been to a doctor.
Oh, wow.
Like it's been a long time. And, like now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like, damn, your body ain't the same like it was when you're 20. So you definitely should definitely go see where it is now, and then two, like, with Fizz not being engaged and like one day getting married and stuff like that and want to have a family, I feel like it's also the right thing for me to go and know where I am. Cause I would hate to, get married and then all of a sudden I'm like sick, and I'm like, I could have avoided this years ago, or did a checkup or something like that to start fighting or whatever the case may be, so just for like the future of my family, I just want to know where I am so I know how to move around and navigate, for my future. So it's nice just having like having y'all on, so that way it just kind of help normalizes that, like, doctors aren't scary. Doctors is normal people, and this could just be a normal conversation. It doesn't have to be about, if you take the money out of the equation and just focus on it just being a simple conversation, it's easier to feel like you need to go to the doctor.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have a shit ton of questions that came
in.
So
that's true.
We can sit here and chat with you all day, but let's get some of these community questions in.
I feel
yeah, go ahead.
One of them was like, how do you find a gay doctor, or how do you find a LGBT?
Yeah. I was gonna say, because I asked it earlier too. Yeah. Right? How do you shop for a doctor?
Yeah.
Right. I think it can be really hard. I will say we do actually have like some research that shows getting care from the minority that you are personally a part of, like having a provider in that same minority group, you get a higher quality of care. And we actually have that specifically within like the Black community. That's where the research comes from. So always, like, when you have the opportunity to do that, fabulous. And shopping for a doctor can be really fucking hard, because it can be like you have to go to more than one appointment, and that can be money, time, transportation, emotional energy, all of those things. So if you have access to the internet and can like pre-shop and do exactly what Jarrell did, which is like post on Facebook, like, hey, who should I go see? Like, who do we have good words about on the street?
Absolutely.
I think that's like, social media is a great resource for that. And online communities like Reddit, or what's the one the kids do? Starts with a D.
TikTok. Do the dance. Who is your doctor?
Yeah, all of those. And then there are actually some like online, like, there's a preplocator.org. So if you're looking specifically to find someone who does PrEP, you can use that tool, and you can do by geographic location. And then for trans health, gender health stuff, we have some of that as well. And then the Gay and Lesbian Medical Association does too. So all of those kind of organizations will have databases. They're not totally like foolproof, but they're helpful.
Yeah, that'd be interesting if there was like a registrar or something like that, or like you put like a little rainbow symbol at the end of like something, it's just like something just simple just to help us out, damn it. Because like I did the same thing. I moved to each city asking friends, putting it on social media, DMing people. It's hard, and it shouldn't be this damn hard in 2020. It's like, come on, we have tools for everything but that. So since Jarrell said he's getting up there in age and finally going to the doctor, we had a question
his
that came
ass.
in. Right, his little old ass. Thoughts on when gay men should do a colonoscopy, and does it different than straight men?
I think it depends, like, specifically on your sexual practices and your HIV status, right? Okay. So we don't have like wide sweeping recommendations or evidence-based approach like that's like settled on really specifically. But if you like, generally, if you have a positive status, we would recommend potentially exploring like an anal pap smear with a gastroenterologist. Typically are the people who are doing them more frequently. Some primary care docs are going to be doing them as well. Like in your 40s even.
Clarification. What is it? What is an anal pap smear?
Yes. Okay. I mean, it's kind of like what it sounds like.
I mean, they do one like this.
Right. No. So there's like I don't even have like a swab to show you, but basically there's just like kind of a swabby collection situation, and they're going to swab around the rectum and the anus. Yeah.
Around, but not inside.
Like mildly inside.
Mildly. A mildly good night.
Mild.
One digits, two digits, like what's mild?
No, like less.
Okay.
Less
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So a whisper, a good whisper. Okay.
Yeah.
We got our pinky fingers up for those listening on the podcast.
It's a graze.
A graze.
And so if you have anal receptive practices and a positive status, doing that in your 40s is probably like, it's worth having a conversation with your doctor about. And then if you have anal receptive practices and are negative, considering it in your 50s. And that is screening for changes in the cells in the that are caused by the HPV virus, and also screening for the HPV virus itself, which is what we screen for when we do pap smears on cervixes, right? And what we're seeing is that a lot of anal and rectal cancer is being caused by the HPV virus. So that is kind of not quite a colonoscopy, but one of the things we do actually think screening is appropriate to consider.
And so say like it comes back positive, or you have those cells, what are the next steps after that?
Yeah, so I think the next steps after that would be to talk to the specialist, because I just screen. And then I say, oh dear.
I only work here.
You need to call this specialist.
We got a complicated order.
Right. You gonna get a coat. You gonna get a coat.
Then let's phone a friend.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah. And I think, again, it would probably depend. They would probably do a further evaluation to see how far it's going and how advanced it is, right? Because screening, we're trying to catch things really, really early. And if you're negative and your immune system's functioning well, they might just want to monitor it and make sure your body clears it on its own.
Yeah.
And if you're positive and your counts aren't great and your immune system's struggling, there might be some more acute interventions to do right now.
Okay. I know earlier we spoke a little bit about PrEP, and there were quite a few questions that people had regarding around PrEP. And I'll ask AunTeas a little bit about that later too. But is there any correlation to PrEP and liver damage by chance? Is that a myth? Is that true?
Yeah. So with PrEP, we tend to actually worry a little bit more about kidneys. Mm-hmm. So there is, with any medication, there is definitely side effects as a potential thing. And I think what we tend to see the most with Truvada is more of the kidney issues. And then, so we typically do labs to track that. And potentially some fat redistribution being one of the ones that I see people get a little more bent out of shape about as well.
Where's it redistributing to? Your ass or your stomach?
Because that's really important in the gay community.
And the tum-tum.
Oh no! Wrong answer. Wrong answer.
Some extra punches. Okay, then that's just more surgery, because then you're gonna try to get a butt lift and move it from your stomach to your ass. I mean, that's a lot.
And And the data, most of the data we have on side effects from Truvada and Descovy is actually when they were taken in combination with other antiretrovirals for people who were actually positive. And so we do think the side effect profiles are less intense and less likely to happen when we're taking them as preventative therapy and not taking them in combination.
Gotcha.
Okay.
With other data on that in the next 10 years.
Okay.
We had a little glitch in the matrix.
Right. Frozen.
No, it's all good.
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
I hear you just fine.
Yeah, totally. Just fine.
Let's see here. So I put a lot of the questions in the chat to just keep us on track here, to help me more than anything. So another question that came in said, how to deal with different sex drive with your partner? And maybe even a follow-up to that is there certain blood tests that potentially check like testosterone levels and things like that that might affect the libido and things like that?
Libido. Yeah. Well, so I'm poly. So my answer to that is just have sex with more people.
Here we go.
Right. Sorry about it.
That part.
No. Like in a monogamous relationship where like we're trying to like meet each other's sexual needs and someone's more interested and someone's less interested. Like I think the first thing is always like open and honest communication and transparency, right? And not expecting our partners to meet all of our needs. And then like if you're like, yeah, no, I still want to figure out like, is my sex drive low because like that's just part of who I am in my makeup, or is there like some chemical issue going on that I'd like to have evaluated, right? Because some of us are like asexual and like we just that's where we are and that's where we live and there's absolutely nothing wrong with us.
Right.
And that's when it really helps to be poly. But yeah, if you want to go get an evaluation, typically we would be looking at like, depending on who you are and what kind of hormones your body makes more of.
Yeah, like we lost you a little bit there. Well, while we try to figure that out, we'll at least listen to it on the podcast because we still have the audio.
I can pop onto my hotspot too to see if I can make it stop doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other things we typically screen for are going to be like mental health. Is it like depression or anxiety that's interfering with like your interest in sex? And substance use can often interfere with. So like, you know, too much alcohol, too much marijuana. Am I back?
That's it. And I hear you.
We heard it, and then
we hear you, but we don't see it. You're frozen.
There we go.
There we go.
Oh.
The glitch in the Matrix. See, the Matrix is mad at y'all for saying that the fight scene in the Matrix is better than.
Right, exactly. They're coming for us now. We about to be woken up and thrown in the trash, liquefied.
Okay. I put it on a hot spot. Can y'all see me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
It's just, there we go. Okay. It's kind of a little glitchy, but that's okay. As long as we hear you, we're all good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I guess that kind of almost has a follow-up question that Dewan asked earlier when we were kind of prepping for this show, no pun intended, was where's that thin line between like almost a sex therapist or like a psychologist and things like that and a physician when it potentially could come to maybe like the sex drive,
sexual compatibility,
mental health. Exactly. Where's that line for you all?
Yeah, I think sometimes like we're working hand in hand, you know. I definitely get referrals from like people in the community who work with mental health and sexual focused mental health practices and things like that. Because it's hard, like humans, like we're complex organisms, and like it's not just like, oh, you have this one lab value that's wrong. It's like you're also 37 and there's a pandemic and we have a horrible fucking president, and like you're like, you know, I'm a queer person with ovaries in a world that basically tells me like in a lot of ways I shouldn't exist.
You don't own them.
Yeah. So, right. And like, you know, I'm sure as like, you know, Black gay men, like there's so much like the world is saying like should not be happening. And it's like, is it that? Is it my testosterone? Is it my thyroid? Did I just like eat too much sugar? Did I like have too many beers? Yeah. So I think a lot of times we're working hand in hand to try to sort that out and kind of address it from multiple
angles,
focuses.
Yeah. I had another friend reach out, and their question was, what testosterone levels are clinically recommended for trans men? He has a friend that is transitioning, but met with 2 different doctors and got 2 different answers. And it's kind of like, I don't know what to do. And this is like real time. I'm talking about like in the last week, received 2 different answers. So any suggestions or?
Yeah, totally. We tend to think, I tend to think of it in 2 ways. Like I'm using labs to like make sure I'm not putting you at significant risk. So I'm not like way outside of like kind of what we think of as like a normal range of testosterone, right?
Okay.
Because if we're way over that, like I'm increasing your risk of liver problems, I'm increasing your risk of having a blood clot, I'm increasing your risk of like having a stroke and your blood getting too thick. And I'm not really supporting necessarily what we think your gender at that point, like any better. And so I tend to think like I want to use the labs to make sure we're safe. And then I want to hear your experience of your treatment. Is this working for you? Are you like, is your gender supported in your brain? Like, does your brain feel like it's working the way it's supposed to? Are you seeing the changes in your body that you wanted to see? You know, and so that's going to be a big driver of like what I'm shooting for. And then that safety range though on those labs is really established by each individual laboratory. So each lab uses like a slightly different assay or test to look at testosterone, and they will give a quote unquote normal range for their test. And I want it to be within that range, that quote unquote normal range, basically they're going to label it as the male normal range, but that range is based off of like bodies with testosterone, not on other hormones. That's usually going to be anywhere from like 250 to like 900. It's big wide range.
Oh, it's a big range. Yeah. Okay.
It's interesting that question comes out because I haven't even shared it on here. Like, it's something that I've looked into for my body just because my dad went through it. So he was like, make sure you get your testosterone checked. And come to find out mine has been low. So literally the last year has been this journey of seeing all these different doctors that are trying to agree on some standard protocol and making me do sleep studies and this and that. So like you were saying earlier, it could be a wide range of stuff affecting it. But one thing that if I do have to go on testosterone therapy or hormone therapy is the thing you just said about your blood, like, because I'm just a researcher and a nerd and I just read everything, is your blood getting too thick? And an option that some people do is to donate blood. But obviously being a gay Black man that has sex with my husband, that is not an option for me. So I'm just like, what other options do I have to potentially stop my blood from getting too thick and having a stroke or something like that? So I guess that's my question personally to you based off of like the whole testosterone thing.
Yeah, totally. So typically on testosterone therapy, they would do labs periodically to check your blood counts. And if it were trending in a direction of getting too thick, they would basically have you donate blood. It's called therapeutic phlebotomy though, right? So like you would be going to a lab specifically to have a medical intervention to treat that. So it's not like donating like we do every day where it's going to then be given to someone else. Yours is just going to be taken away and then
tossed off. Oh, which sucks. That's crazy. That's a whole other, I guess, issue, but
which is like great next question. You know, which is like, you know, is there any way to like fight the whole gays not being able to, or queer people who sleep with same-sex individuals, you know, from not being able to donate blood. I know what maybe it was last year or two, that now it's like 3 months. Like now you have, if it's been longer than 3 months, then you can. But I feel like 3 months, you can save so many lives in those 3 months. Like it's not fixing the problem still, you know?
Yeah.
So do you see that still trending in a way where it will one day be, you know, that won't be a thing?
Oh,
Right.
but I mean, definitely advocacy, like, right, if you have like the emotional and like physical resources and capacity to get out, like vote. And, you know, but if you have the capacity to do any other advocacy, definitely, like all of those things would help potentially change that. I know it's a huge thing here in Seattle. We've talked about it so many times. And we definitely have like healthcare associated protests out here. So, you know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Make it work.
Yeah. That's crazy. That whole donating, and a lot of people, like anytime I posted on my Facebook, a lot of like my straight friends don't even know that that's a thing, like that we can't donate. So like even getting the word out there and getting awareness out there might even be another like opportunity for us to push more, because a lot of people don't even know. You know, and it's sad that like for like a lot of folks that might have rare blood and things like that, where a lot of people aren't donating. Hey, you have a whole community over here of millions of people that are willing to donate, and we can't.
Yeah.
Houseway.
Crazy.
It's dumb. I mean, there's like so many dumb things in healthcare, and like so much of it is just like, you know, discrimination. Like straight up, there's no other explanation for it.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I don't put donor on my driver license. Like if I can't give blood, why the fuck am I gonna put donor on my driver license? But my people who know that are, you know, who have that power, they know that I would love to donate if possible. But for everyone else, no, that's none of your business. No, you want to be all up in mine because I sleep with other men? Nope, you don't need to know that.
Yeah, right. For sure. You treat me like less than, like you don't deserve my best by any means. Ugh.
I told my family to burn my body up. Don't get a grave. Don't have a funeral. Just throw it out in the trash.
Burn it up.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Release my spirit.
I know Corey wants to be like, have you seen those pods where you could turn your body into like a tree?
Yeah.
That's what, and maybe I shouldn't.
I could totally see Corey doing that.
It's like that's put too much.
And he gonna be like, and I'm gonna want you to plant me in the back of the house. I can watch your ass.
He didn't say that part, but probably exactly what he means. Absolutely, that's too funny. Oh man, Dewan, I know you had some questions too. I know we've been hogging the questions. Sorry, boo.
Because
I know he
did. I sent over a couple. Let me go back to my
And I guess while he's looking at that one too, how do you discuss, like we had an Ask Your Aunties question a few weeks ago around like herpes, and it was like he was newly into the relationship and it was freaking him out whether he could like deal with being in that relationship while his potential interest, I guess, had herpes and getting tested and all that. What's the best advice for maybe couples going through that, or interests going through that? What advice would you give potentially maybe the person with herpes on how to discuss it, and then the person without on how to, I guess, not contract it, or best practices to have a healthy relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like a kinky queer poly person.
I love her. She's right on my.
It's so funny because to hear those words out of your mouth and see the look on YouTube right now, it's like, say what?
It's
don't judge a book by its cover.
Look.
I'm here for
well,
it.
Fuck your brains out and then ask for you a pie afterwards. Like,
I'm just throwing this little head wrap real quick. She takes it off to tie your hands up.
Consensually.
Consensually, yes.
It was an entanglement.
No, but yeah, so like, right, in the communities and spaces I move in personally, it is so like, you know, it's so important to have these conversations and to be transparent and to be ethical about this. And so I think like always like regular testing, so you know your status, so you even know if you need to be having the conversations, right, is so important. And being with a healthcare provider who knows how to test you appropriately, like just like we can't donate blood, which is super dumb, like so many healthcare providers still are like just gonna do a urine test for gonorrhea and chlamydia and move on. And it's like, I don't even put anything in there. Like that's not even where the gonorrhea and chlamydia are living. Like what the fuck? So, right. So we need to do site specific screening. So gonorrhea and chlamydia tests need to be collected where your body has contact with other genitals on pink moist tissue. So that might be a throat swab, that might be a urine test, it might be a genital swab, and it might be a rectal swab, or it might be all of those. And so like making sure you're with someone who knows how to do that and help you decide when to test, how frequently to test, and what to test for. So getting a provider that's really comfortable and competent moving through sexual health from a queer perspective, super helpful. And then like, then you're armed with all the information, and then it's like, hi, really cute person that I really want to do sexy things with. Like I need to tell you some stuff first, and I'm going to feel awkward and kind of weird. But the more we do it, I feel like the more we practice it, the more comfortable it gets, right? So, you know, and I totally have had like, you know, we've had at some of like the spaces and communities I move in, we've totally had like role play, like pretend like you have this and talk to this person about it. So definitely to like decrease some of the stress. Just practicing is really great. And then I always think if they're going to be like an asshole about this anyways, if they're going to like slut shame me and like push some stigma on me that I don't fucking need, like I don't want to give them my body anyways. Like, fuck you. Because this is worth a lot and you are not treating it well.
Come on now. You just said a word. Come on, those are bars. Those are bars.
And then, you know, if it's like not slut shaming and not stigma and it's just like fear and like a lack of information, I think like the next best step is like, you know, hey, these are like some of the resources I have, but maybe it would be helpful for you to like talk to your friends, talk to your community, talk to your provider and see. And it's like no pressure, right? I think the best time to have those conversations is like not when we're about to do sexy things, like not a good time, right? Because then there's suddenly so much pressure and awkwardness and weirdness. So it's like really great to have those conversations like at coffee when everyone's going to keep their clothes on. And then herpes is like a weird one. We don't like quite know exactly what's going on with it medically. But we, you know, depending on where.
What does that mean?
What? It's like, back that up.
Right? Oh, okay. So gonorrhea.
Is it mutating?
Right. No, it's not mutating. So it's a virus though, right? And so with gonorrhea and chlamydia, they're like bacterial infections. Like, we're pretty good if we find them, we can give you antibiotics, and we're pretty certain they work really well most of the time. If your provider's paying attention to like the community rates of resistance and giving you the right antibiotics. And so FABs, we can fix that. You can move on. We can give you some medicine for your partners too. And then you can all get freaky again. Great job. Herpes is a virus, and it's a virus that like we kind of keep once we get it. And for some people, that means we do have like recurrent outbreaks, like we get sores or lesions again. And for some people that's on our face, for some people it's around our genitals. we used to think you only could spread the virus during those outbreaks. And what we're finding is that you probably spread quite a bit of virus right before the outbreak starts. And that you may even shed some virus not during outbreaks. But we don't know how much that is, if it's really enough to be infectious or risky for other people. And so actually University of Washington Public Health Harborview STI Clinic is trying to do sample collection to get more information and data on that. But generally, the recommendation is if it's someone who has frequent outbreaks, they can be on suppressive therapy. So they can be on medication that minimizes that, and then is also going to significantly decrease the amount of virus they shed and make them much less risky for other people. Mm-hmm. And then it's barriers, right? And depending on where someone expresses the virus in their body, that's kind of where the barrier probably needs to be, right? So, because a lot of times we think, oh, we got a condom, we're good. But if they actually usually get an outbreak kind of more at the base of the genitals, or kind of right close to where the leg meets the thigh or something like that, we would actually want a little bit bigger of a barrier. And so that can be a tough one, because we don't have enough information about how it's spread and when it's spread. And that's the most important part of having a conversation. So it's really hard to say. And then lots of people, up to 80% of the adult sexually active population is going to test positive for HSV 1 or 2 at some point in their life. So it's the blood test is super confusing, right? If they've never had sores or lesions, and they don't even know when they got the virus and where it is in their body, and they just have a positive blood test, it's oh, how do I have that conversation now? And I think, we just say hey, I had this test result. I've never had an outbreak. I don't really know what to do with that information, other than I want to be transparent with you and see what your risk and comfort level is, right? Yeah. So
honest conversations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like them.
One more question, and I know we got to ask AunTea to get to, and a whole bunch of other stuff. What sex health conversations are we not having in our community?
Oh gosh. Why are we slut shaming everyone? Why aren't more people taking PrEP? I think and we talked about this a little bit before, I think that's one of the biggest ones, it's just ridiculous. Can we stop punching down? I just don't know. There's so many people who want to treat us so poorly. And I think that is always the biggest one for me as a physician and working in healthcare is we have this medication that is up to 90% effective at reducing the spread of HIV. That is amazing. It works really well. The side effects are pretty minimal. The most common ones really are headache, feeling sick to your stomach, and some weight loss. And those are usually in the beginning when you get started. And they get better after you've been on it for a couple of weeks. And then, yes, there are some other potential weight redistribution, bone health issues, kidney health issues, and very, very, very rarely liver stuff. But again, that's super, super rare. It's the other things we worry about a little bit more. But overall, it's fairly safe and well tolerated. And it's people aren't taking it. And I think some of that is related to our stigma that we had, we slut shame people for it. We're oh, are you taking a pill? I don't think we've ever slut shamed anyone for using a condom.
Or the pill.
Right? Oh, no.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, women.
No. We get slut shamed all the time for taking the pill.
Yeah.
Is it for taking the pill, or is it for the actual behavior?
All the above.
The taking the pill is the assumption of the actual behavior. I was growing up in the South, I ran track and cross country as well, Jarrell, and didn't have periods. I started them and then stopped them because of all of the running. Mm-hmm. And my doctor wanted me to be on birth control because he was oh, you should be cycling regularly or whatever. And my dad was no daughter of mine is going to be on birth control. Like I was not having sex. I just didn't have periods, and my doctor thought it would be better for my health, and my dad was like, no. And it starts, right? Like the slut thing started in my own family.
Wow.
Like at the age of 14. Before I ever had sex with anyone.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad. No, just
yeah. But no, hey, Dad, I have sex with lots of people now. Totally fine.
I'm gonna show you.
Really weird.
I'm having
sex
all
too.
the sex.
Right, really weird sex too. Ow.
Weird sex.
Here for it. Well, I guess that kind of leads us to our Ask Your Auntie, so we might as well continue the conversation. But let's get into what time is it? Ask your
auntie. I like that robot.
Bust it out. Chappelle Show. So the question stems around PrEP. It says, I responded to a story for podcasters only, but my community is in trouble as far as perception of PrEP and being on it. For my Black LGBTQIA people, especially for Black males, there's a lot that surrounds access to PrEP and the perception of it. They are hurting, and the numbers of HRV are overwhelming for them. HIV has become part of my family, and it's killed someone close to me. I'm done seeing my community being ravished by it, and I'm at a loss at this point. I work in an STI HIV clinic here in Michigan and have for over 10 years. Any ideas or initiatives would be appreciated. Anything that may be done in your area would help. We don't have PrEP peer navigators. We have me and 2 others advocating.
Yeah, that's tough. We're so lucky in Seattle. Through Lifelong, we totally have PrEP care navigators, and it helps so much. Because it can be
What's a PrEP care navigator?
Yeah, they're basically a person whose job it is to help you get your medicine in an accessible and affordable way. And then to help you if you're having a hard time getting your labs or following up on things, or they kind of help you manage it and help you get access to it.
Okay.
It can be fairly expensive, even with insurance sometimes. And Gilead, one of the pharmaceutical companies who makes Truvada, has a patient assistance program. So PrEP care navigators usually help people sign up for that. So it significantly reduces the cost and usually makes it cost effective for most people. And then in the state of Washington, we also have some other funding that we can use to subsidize that, so that people can get it basically for free if they qualify.
Okay. And isn't that the same company that's going to eventually be making the generic version of Truvada, or is making the generic version of Truvada?
Probably. I don't follow corporate medicine happenings very well. I'm sorry. But yeah, you would think eventually, the patent's gonna run out, and there's not gonna right? The only reason we don't have a generic right now is it's patented.
Right.
And they can make money off of it. So
yeah, I think it's this year or next year that the patent's done, and I think the FDA allowed them to be the main distributor of the generic, which is now still kind of putting a hindrance on the cost again, because
right
one person or manufacturer making it.
But yeah, so I think PrEP care navigators are an amazing resource if you have them. If not, definitely getting familiar with the patient assistance program and how to sign people up for it and get them the patient assistant payment cards is really important as far as a resource. And I think, just being out and open about status, knowing our status is so important, and not perpetuating that stigma of not talking about it, right? Because HIV rates, they decreased in the white population from 2008 to 2019. They stayed the same in the Black population, particularly men who sleep with men, and they increased in the Latinx population. This is what healthcare is, right? Healthcare is discriminatory as a system. And all of the systems that help us access healthcare are discriminatory. And so we see disproportionate rates of infectious diseases in minority groups.
That's crazy. That's like infuriating, because it's just like you see the data clearly says this is treatable, this is preventable. We have the means, the funds, the tools, the medicines to do so.
Yes.
We shouldn't see any community flatlining and going up at all. It should be decreasing. It should be declining. And hopefully, like, having you on like the podcast and hopefully seeing 3 gay Black men talking about it helps with this stigma. But
right.
Woo,
and
that's
it's like,
a lot.
It's so frustrating. And part of it is access. Like Jarrell was saying, if you don't have access, like if you can't go to the doctor, if you can't get tested, like if you can't afford it, if you can't afford the time off work, if you don't have the transportation to get there, if like every doctor you see is like, that's one of the things patients used to say to me all the time.
So rude.
Right? When I came into the office, like when I would come into the clinic room, my patients would always be like, you don't look like what I think a doctor should look like. And I'm like, well, I'm never going to be an old white dude. So like,
let's start there.
Right.
So I'm just going to be me.
Unless it's Halloween.
If it doesn't work for you, I can help you find someone else,
Right.
But like all of those things play into this, right? And so the more we can like support people and like having those conversations so they are starting to think about trying to access these things, and then the more we can support communities and having easy access to these things, right? Having like pop-up sites for testing, having mobile units for testing, having mobile units for doing PrEP, like that's all things we're trying in King County, in Seattle, and super important. And then I don't know. I'm get off my soapbox.
Soapbox to stay on.
For real. And I agree with you.
I mean, we can't talk about it. This question's been sitting around for a long time because we felt like we needed an expert to really provide a medical point of view. So
because the only thing I can think of too is like what you were just talking about, which is, normalizing those conversations. Like for me personally, like I think back Jarrell first coming out, and Jarrell was very much following and the stigmas and holding them up high like no, but it took for to backstory. I also grew up with an aunt in the 90s who was a straight cis woman who also became HIV positive. She actually had AIDS, and she ended up living to, it's 2020, so she ended up living to 2014. With actual AIDS. But I mean, the trauma I see of watching her body slowly deteriorate, and then the problems that she ended up having with her own kids legally and stuff like that, it added to the stigma. So like growing up, it was just like, I've seen how this can affect people negatively on so many different ways, personally, firsthand. So when I came out, I was definitely living by the stigma because of how I saw it as a kid, growing up. But then as an adult and having conversations, and then also, someone close and dear that means a lot to me, becoming HIV positive, that was the reality where it hit me. I was like, I can't say that I love this person and that I want this person to be happy, but at the same time, I would never date someone who is HIV positive. How am I to be that this is my best friend, I love this person, I want this person to be happy? I can't say those words if I, as Jarrell, can't live by that code myself. So that was what, really woke me up and made me want to, I was always going to be supportive of my friend no matter what once he became HIV positive. But it just allowed me to want to know more because of that personal level. Right. And I think the more we have those conversations, the more you'll find out that someone you already know on that personal level either has or know someone that has. And it's not that close of a separation before you can find that empathy to find that type of, compassion, to break that stigma.
Right. And it is like, it's so like manageable, right? Like from a medical perspective, like, we went like HIV AIDS was this like life-changing, life-threatening, almost death sentence for most people, right? In the 80s, to like, here we are in 2020, like we like in the medical world, we like kind of think of it like we do diabetes or high blood pressure. Like we can manage this. Like we have enough medications for most people that like we're going to be able to like control your viral counts. We're going to be able to like support your T cells, and like most people are like, we're going to be able to get them to the undetectable range, right? You're undetectable, you're untransmittable, and like
say that again, please.
Yeah.
And then say I want to date someone who's positive. One, they're getting their care, they have access to care, they're undetectable, fabulous. Like we can do all the fun, kinky, weird, sexy things. Two, like I could consider going on PrEP, right? Because again, like that is going to protect me if I have a seropositive partner. And so it shouldn't limit like who I date or who I do sexy things with. Like as long as we're having those honest, ethical conversations, and the way we have those conversations, right, is we don't treat people poorly when we have them. Like we minimize the stigma.
And maybe we need to even back up further. Like, do we need to explain what PrEP is? Like maybe there are people listening and maybe other people, other communities that don't even know what PrEP is. We just say it so.
I agree. And to add to that, can we also talk about what U equals U means too?
Yeah.
And how PrEP gets you to there. But
PrEP is pre-exposure prophylaxis. That's what the PrEP stands for. And it's a medicine you take once a day to reduce your risk of contracting HIV. And there's 2 different medicines that have been approved in the United States for that. And they're combination medications. So they have 2 different medicines in one pill. And they're really effective. Yeah. Like, you know, if taken consistently, like if you have measurable amounts in your bloodstream, the reduction, like rates of transmission are over 90%. So amazing.
Exactly. Yes. And why it's not like free, and why it's like that's the mind-boggling part of it.
America.
Yes.
America.
Want to keep the people not in power, not in power.
That's true. That's so true. And then what's the U equals U? Maybe explain to our community.
Yeah, undetectable equals untransmittable. So like if your viral load counts are undetectable, which is like you get a U on your lab report, right? Like, or, you know, you get an under a certain number or a U. And that means like you don't have active viral that we can find with a laboratory test, which also means you can't spread the HIV virus.
Period.
Boom.
Right. So I feel like unfortunately, a lot of the myths and stigmas from the early days, and rightfully so, at that time, we didn't have the drugs we have. We didn't have the knowledge that we have. But now that we do have the drugs that we have and the knowledge that we have, that needs to trump, no pun intended, like the stigmas that that are out there, because and let's spread this knowledge, because it's still hindering our communities. So
yeah, and we can't live in the dark ages. Like we need to start having open and honest conversations about sex, sexual behavior. It's natural, it's human, it's varied, it's diverse, it's whatever, it's individualistic. We need to just have open conversations about that. The days of like living in the dark ages, you know, is like, it's a wrap. It's 2020. We got to move forward.
Time to move on. Yeah,
absolutely.
And it was such a traumatic thing that happened to the gay community specifically, but like all the LGBTQ community, right? The AIDS epidemic, so traumatic. So like,
absolutely.
You know, definitely I can see where like this like collective group trauma affects our ability to talk about it now, but it's only going to keep traumatizing us and damaging our community if we don't start talking about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and maybe that's something, you know, because again, I took out the question, like out of the Asking AunTeas, like the biggest question is like how to best help the community where she is in Michigan, of, you know, getting them that knowledge. And I think it's a little bit of everything that we said, but I think the most important thing is to don't give up, you know, because I think with it being such a hard conversation to have, you're going to probably feel like you're going to hit a wall quite often, or like no one's listening. But the thing about situations like this, or when it comes to things that people are afraid of, they may not speak up, but they be ear hustling. Someone, they may not be telling you that, oh, thank you for sharing that to me, but it's landing on some ears, and it might be changing their mind as far as how they practice, sex and make sure that safe sex, whatever the case is too. So I would really encourage, the person to continue to, to do what it is that you can do, and don't feel like you have to be the one to move the mountain. Sometimes you move parts of the rocks and the boulders at the bottom, and then as a collective we move the whole mountain together as a community, which is how we really should be doing it.
On that note too, I feel like I didn't know about PrEP Care Navigators. When I was working with KP, we had them in our KP system, so it was super, like, all the resources we needed were right there. And then I left KP and was in private practice, and I found Lifelong, right? Just because, like, I show up to community events and I'm part, like, this is, part of what I do. And also at, like, health education conferences and stuff like that. So for that person in Michigan, maybe there is someone with PrEP Care Navigators near you or around you, like a nonprofit with grant funding who can help you do this work, and you don't have to do it alone. And so just trying to network to find those people. And, like, one of the amazing things about Lifelong here in Seattle, like, they will support people, like, even, like, further than Seattle. Like, they will, like, like if I have someone further out, cause, like, I serve the whole state, right? They're like, well, we will figure something out. Like, let's just ask us. So
I love that.
Finding those people who have the funding and resources and time to focus on that, so you're not burning yourself out either.
Especially after 10 years.
Please, PrEPme.org is a specific organization in Michigan that focuses on providing access and education for Michiganders.
Come on now, don't do my state like that. Don't do my state like that.
Mr. Dungarees.
Right.
Like people who try to kidnap their governor.
Right. That part. But yeah, surprising, but yes.
So yeah, please PrEP me, PLEASEPREPME.org. Please PrEPme.org is a organization specifically in Michigan to help provide access and information and connect.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Awesome. And we'll put that on our social media as well, because that's important to get as many people, especially the Black community. And I see it here in Atlanta, just living in Atlanta. Like, I have a friend that works in the pharmaceutical industry, and when he was visiting last year, he was just giving me just stats on it. He's like, Atlanta is just unfortunately a hotbed for just no education on PrEP, and so the HIV rates here are off the charts, and it's sad because obviously Atlanta's a predominantly Black city. Like you said, the stats are showing that the rates aren't coming down like the white community. So it's sad, and we just got to get all this information out there somehow, some way. Yes, the cost could be a barrier, but let's find ways and tools to educate everyone to at least keep it as low of a cost as possible. And I guess, like, is GoodRx, like, I see the commercials all the time. Is that a good option, or is that just kind of just some companies trying to make coins right now with all this money?
I actually recommend goodrx.com to lots of patients for medications. I don't know what their rates are on Truvada. They're basically, it's like you would go to the pharmacy, you would see, like, don't use they're not going to help with Truvada. It's still going to be really expensive. I just looked it up right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So like a month of Truvada, like, retail price right now is about $2,000.
That's crazy.
And with, like, the patient assistance card, like, some insurance coverage, patient assistance programs, like, a lot of times we're getting it for patients like under $40 a month.
Wow.
Really, like, accessing those PrEP Care Navigators is, like, so helpful if you can find them, and hopefully they have some of those in Michigan. Absolutely. Or they can find someone who wants to write a grant to fund a PrEP Care Navigation position. And try to get some funding there.
Here for it.
I do have a question for you. It's still regarding PrEP. Do doctors, do people still recommend those who are even in monogamous relationships to still be on PrEP?
If you have a serodiscordant couple, so if someone's positive and someone's negative, it's worth considering. If your partner's undetectable, like I think the risk benefit is really a detailed conversation that's going to be really based on your values that your provider needs to have with you. But it's often recommended in that situation. If you are both like seropositive, you're going to be on other medications and not applicable for PrEP. And if you're both seronegative and it's a monogamous relationship, probably we wouldn't recommend it, right? The like side effects are going to be more, the risks are going to be higher than the benefits for you.
Right.
I still recommend STI testing at least once a year. You know, the CDC recommends at least one HIV test in an adult lifetime, right? But most people who do infectious disease and sexual health are going to recommend testing once a year, even in a monogamous relationship, because like we're the healthcare providers who see people on the bad day when they found out their partner was having sex with other people and not being ethical about it and not being honest about it. And we've definitely seen people who come back positive for you know, gonorrhea, chlamydia, HIV, because they had a partner they thought who was monogamous and was not.
It was not.
And the sooner we find out about your status, the better the medical treatment's going to work for you, right?
Oh, I was going to say the sooner you can leave that bitch, but you know, that
was me. Look, somebody just drove off
that too
right now.
That too.
Like all I was doing was going to Starbucks.
Right, no, spill my coffee. Don't spit it all on the dashboard. That part. But man, we literally could have you on like all day, every day, literally.
For real.
But we thank you for taking the time to carve out time out of your busy schedule. Like, community, you didn't know. Like before we came on, she hadn't eaten today. Like we had a busy day.
She's working. Yeah, she's working.
She's working.
They are
busy.
working.
So thank you. And honestly, this might have to be a recurring segment or something like that to get you back on.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for sure. I'd love to come back. And yes, I was working a lot, but it was really fun work. So like hard to complain about that, right? I got lucky enough to like land in a place in medicine that like really fits like what I'm passionate about. And that's just been such a joy. Because it was
the way to do it.
Not fun for a while there.
And I guess maybe quick last question. So you said Alaska, are you able to practice outside of Washington, or is it like a certain region? Or like if people look you up today, listen to this podcast, is that doable?
It depends on what state they're in. So telemedicine, we don't have national medical licenses. We are licensed by state, and I have to be licensed in the state I am in and the state you are in.
Got it.
So I'm currently licensed in Washington, Alaska, and Florida.
Okay.
The practice also has a provider who is licensed in Idaho. Okay. And we're probably going to open in California, and I'm in Wyoming next. I also have because of the pandemic and the state of emergency, there's been some waivers so you can practice across state lines in certain states. So I have a lot of random temporary licenses right now. Weird story, but true story. It's oftentimes much easier to get a healthcare provider to continue a medication you are already on than to get them to start you on something, right? So if someone wants to get started on PrEP or gender affirming medical care, like hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, hormone blockers, things like that, even though maybe I couldn't see them long term because the pandemic will eventually end and my license would go away, if I can get them started, a lot of times providers in the community will be like, oh yeah, well, we'll just figure out how to continue this because you're already on it and I don't want to stop it. Which sucks. Why don't you just figure out how to start it to begin with? I don't know.
Preaching to the choir.
Houseway.
If only we made the rules.
Right.
Yeah.
I think one more time before you leave, you want to share like your Instagram, your website, and all that stuff again. So then that way we make sure our community and our listeners have it.
You're so sweet to me because I don't remember to do that stuff. I really don't think healthcare should be a business personally. So that part's hard for me. But website's queerdoc.com. Facebook and Insta are at queerdoc. Twitter's at docqueer. I think I don't have a TikTok. I'm too old for that.
Same.
Hey, we're the same age, so
same.
Come on now.
AunTea Kerel over there be sitting there.
I sure do.
Doing videos all day, every day.
She be having wigs on and everything.
Got Auntie Cookie and everything. It's everything.
Oh my gosh. I'm getting TikTok just to watch that.
Please
or
do.
Like, borrowing my 19-year-old volunteers. I'm gonna be like,
trust me, once you get on though, you'll get hooked. It's like literally the second you're like, okay, that's cute. Oh, that's cute too. Oh, I can do that.
Look, let me tell you, I hopped on and hopped right the fuck off. I was like, I had to call Kerel.
She went
for real. I had to call Kerel, and I was like, I had him on speakerphone. How I upload this video? Wait, I gotta do it. No.
Sure oh man! But thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and thank y'all for what you're doing. You know, it was just like National Coming Out Day, and like, you know, we don't come out for those like the straight het people. Like, I don't even know who they are. Yeah. But you know, there are like some little like Black gay boys like and BFE with like no one else around them who looks like them or sounds like them, who are gonna like listen to you and like have hope because y'all are doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
That is the magic. That is really the magic of having a platform and being able to use whatever privilege that you have. And we have privilege in the fact that we have the capacity to do this. And we were very intentional, especially now that we're like going into we're in our second year, very intentional about bringing on other voices that serve and are part of our community to speak on things that we don't have, that's not of our experience. So thank you for sharing that. We really appreciate it.
Yes, and Jarrell, coffee.
Neighbor, yes.
I will buy you that coffee at Espresso Vacay. Like,
let's do it. I would love that. Let's plan that. Like, honestly, like, I'm so in.
Also, if you're like, no, we just met professionally and I never want to hang out with you socially.
See, I don't do the typical Seattle thing. That Seattle freezing ain't me. I'm like, oh, we doing something? We getting together? Like, yes, I am all for it.
I'll buy you coffee. I like the fries.
And I love free 99. Come on, we don't love.
And this is the joy of Minoritea Report, bringing Seattleans together.
Auntie Nico and Auntie Henny. Yes. Thank you. Mwah.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks for joining. All right, we'll talk soon.
Yeah.
How awesome was that?
Love her.
That was great. That was literally like I was saying earlier about like not going. Like, it's been over a decade since I've been to the doctor.
Girl, you need to get. I'm glad you're going.
Like, it's
her body must be pulled together with like bubble gum and like Scotch tape.
Like, don't play me. Don't do me. Look.
She's like, I'm getting ready to go to bed. And she gonna take. She was like, I'm ready to go to bed. She take her arm off.
Right. Exactly. It's like, damn. I'm glad. Like, I'm glad you need to go. So I'm absolutely glad.
But you know, like, and it's true though. Like, I'm not the only one out there. There are a lot of people who just don't think about going to the doctor on the regular. And you know, I'm sure, like, for me, like, one of the main things, and I had to unpack this in therapy, which is like the fear of bad news. You know, like with my depression and my anxiety, and you know, like already having to battle that, the last thing I want is something else that's going to push me over the edge. But I had to remember that I can't continue the fight if I'm not around to live to continue the fight. You know, so I had to put that priority ahead of me. And it just sucks because I come from one of the family on both sides of my family where there's a lot a lot of just unhealthiness. Like both my parents have diabetes, you know, like there is a lot of cancer on both sides of my family that happens, you know, like lymphoma and there's another one that we have. And then we have like lung, like my dad just had his second lung surgery, you know, like at the beginning of the year. You know, emphysema is very big in my family. It's just, you know, like, so just knowing genetically that I have this stuff in my DNA, a part of me has always just been scared and been like,
but yeah, the longer you wait, though,
but you know what? I also
exactly.
Yeah,
and that's true.
I also feel like just as much as there's stigma against, you know, things like, you know, STIs and STDs, there's just stigmas, particularly within our community, about other things that's going on. So, you know, it prevents a lot of people, like you're saying, Jarrell, prevents a lot of people from seeking the care that they deserve, so that they can, you know, live their life fruitfully and, you know, and fully informed, you know. But it's like we have this tradition of, like, you know, keeping things in the dark, you know,
I mean, the
including
history,
ourselves.
The history of doctors. I mean, like, even the data showing that we're not getting the healthcare that we're supposed to be getting.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Like, you hear stuff about like the Tuskegee Airmen and things like the syphilis studies that they were doing on them. So it's just like there's a history of doctors doing malpractice on us, like we're lab rats. So it's like that kind of gets passed on from generation to generation, and it's still hurting us and hindering us. It might not necessarily always be the doctor hurting us, but now we're hurting ourselves because we're scared to go to the damn doctor because of the history of it. So this country is something else, and for folks listening, it is so deep rooted in everything in our lives. Everything.
Yeah. I just hope that my story and my truthfulness of like how bad I'm practicing, you know, my practice have been, like, is encouraging others to be more thoughtful about their own health, you know, because
and once you get a good doctor,
it's a wrap. It's a game changer.
It really is. Like, if you get a good doctor that, like, at least gives you the perception of caring. Obviously, they have tons of people that they're looking after, but at least when you're there in the moment, giving you their undivided attention and answering the questions that you have, it's such a game changer. And following up on, you know, your health and things like that, it's a game changer.
Yeah, but you know, and the other thing I wanted to, you know, say on that too, outside of just finding a doctor, like if you have the healthcare and if you're paying for it, why not use it? You know, like, and that's the thing. Like the thing, like I go to the dentist once a year and I go to the eye doctor once a year, but to go to an actual physician, a general practice physician,
are you supposed to go to the dentist twice a year?
Every 6 months.
No, I go once a year because I have perfect teeth. Thank you very much. The dentist said that I have the mouth that they dream of. My wisdom teeth will never have to be removed.
You had a mouth. You had a good mouth. You had a pretty mouth.
I have a good mouth. Okay.
I remember when we asked that question. She gave her mouth a 6. Remember?
Right. That's right.
No. Now, what I do with that mouth is a different story. But how it's presented, how it sits just right. But no, like my wisdom teeth never had to move out. I'm at the age of 32. I've never had a cavity or a filling or anything of the sort like that. Like the dentist, literally, my dentist has said, like, you only need to come in here once a year for a cleaning. That's it. So, like,
actually, I have my dentist appointment tomorrow at 9:40.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen the dentist. I haven't seen the dentist since last year.
Yeah, like
because of the pandemic. I was supposed to have an appointment in February and then another one in August. But I was like, I'm not doing.
I have mine in January. It was supposed to be July, but then because of COVID, and then they lost. What's the dentist assistants? The people that actually clean your teeth.
Hygienist.
Hygienist, thank you.
Yeah, that's hygienist.
I guess they lost one hygienist, and so they're like, can we reschedule you for October? I was like, damn.
Right. Maybe hounding you, knocking on your door like a solicitor trying to get you in there.
It's like October. I was like, from July. But anyway, so yeah, it's tomorrow morning. But yeah, community, make sure you find a doctor and all that stuff. And It's going to be hard, especially in our community, but once you find a good one, it's good.
Right. And the way that 2020 has been going, I think the one thing that we can control is monitoring our health and taking the time to give it the care and love that it deserves. And if 2020 has taught us anything, is like, tomorrow's not promised. You don't know what the fuck is coming next. So like, you need to be ready to move at a moment's notice. And taking care of your health can ensure that.
This is true.
So I mean, we're hour 35 in.
I know, and we got a little list that we got to get through.
We're gonna do a
we might just have
round.
to postpone some of this, but I do know a lot of people were talking about, they saw that I had voted here in Atlanta, and then also on the news about the 5-hour lines. Yes, the lines are crazy already.
Love it. Love it.
It took me an hour 15, so luckily where I went wasn't as bad. If you live in Fulton County, so the folks that are listening here in Atlanta, if you live in Fulton County, go to State Farm Arena. They have opened up where the Atlanta Hawks play, and they're, from people on Facebook and people that have personally gone that I know of, have said that so far has been the best location, because a lot of the smaller like libraries or like places in the strip malls, the lines are insane. So at least now
in Atlanta, can you just go anywhere to like if within your county?
That was
early vote for early voting. The day of, then you go to your certain precinct. But early voting,
I didn't know that.
For certain counties. I live in DeKalb County, so it's just like I live like literally right on the county line of Fulton and DeKalb. You got to go wherever within DeKalb County of the early voting. If you live in Fulton, you could go any of the voting places.
They serve champagne in that county. When you
say
the
DeKalb,
word, just
girl, you know,
I'm in DeKalb County.
I live in the Black County, girl. You know me drinking Hennessy and.
See with my people over there.
Seriously, that's
Alizé County.
Girl, something.
But no, it's been crazy to see. Like, I love to see so many people vote like early. I was reading an article last night before we started recording today, so by Monday, who knows what this number is going to be. But they were saying 10 million people have already voted early. And we are, and at this time of the article, we were 2 days in, and there was like, 21 days left until actual. And it already breaking records for voting. Good. Like, I just say to everyone, community, those who are listening, if you gotta wait, if you gotta wait. Go to the bathroom beforehand. You know, do what you need to do. Handle your business. Go in groups. So if you have
people
to,
had headphones on.
When people have been doing groups where,
ready.
Like, you know, you go in a group and like if someone has to pee, then you like run, go do your thing, come back.
You know, catch up on Minority Report while you're in line. There you go.
Yeah, that's another thing too. You know, but just do whatever you need to do to stay in the line. Don't get discouraged, and encourage others around you, because for some people it may just be too much. It was
dope too. They were cheering for first-time voters. Like, literally, they would get up there and notice that you were a first-time voter, and so they'd be like, "We have a first-time voter," and people were like, "Yeah, clap it!" I was like, "That is so
make me cry."
No, Corey was in line tearing up, which is crazy because Corey's like not the biggest crier on earth. He's like, that's so encouraging.
It's beautiful.
And I was like, I agree. Like,
look, the state of Washington had to put out something on Twitter today talking about Washington. We hear y'all, and it was Seattle. It was King County. Actually, now I take it back. It was King County. They went on Twitter and was like, "We hear y'all. We gonna mail out y'all should be receiving y'all mail-in ballots by Friday. If you don't have it by Monday, here is the phone number, the website, to make sure that you get your ballot." Because I'm telling you, I've been so sad. Like, even Fizz asked me, he was like, did you vote yet? Like, I see people voting yet, and what's going on? And I'm like, girl, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm
voting in person. On the 24th is when the polls open here for early voting, early in-person voting, and Adam and I are going to be up 7 o'clock in the morning, over there to the PS 185, and we're going to be in that line. And I just want the satisfaction of pushing that goddamn button.
That's what I wanted to.
That's what I want.
See, everything in Seattle is just it's ballot. It's mail-in ballot. Everything in Seattle is mail-in ballot. So I will say I miss going in the lines. I miss doing that. But I will say I do love that I don't have to set outside, time of my day to now vote. Like I just fill it out, put it in the ballot box, and I'm good. And speaking of ballot boxes, girl, can we talk about California and the fake ballot? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
How is this even fucking legal? Like, how are none of that GOP like fucking arrested? Like, literally tampering. I mean, I know exactly. It's a white man's game. It's just
infuriating.
So bad. And on top of that, just to hear fucking 3 weeks ago, President Trump trying to accuse the left side of doing this shit, and it's yo motherfucking people doing this shit
all across the board, though.
Okay,
like they got these militias trying to like kidnap governors. They've got these fake ass ballot boxes that ain't going nowhere, like all across the board.
And they're trying to convince us that mail-in voting is fraud, and like it's insane. Like I was talking to a lady behind me. She was 71 years old. She's like, I voted. She's like, I've voted all my life that I've been able to vote. Like she was just talking. She was just having it. And I was just sitting there listening. I was like, yes, ma'am. Like, old black lady. And she's like, I've never seen, she's like, even back in the day when it was crazy, she's like, I haven't seen anything. And if I have, it's been since then. She's like, the steps that they're trying to do to make us not vote, she's like, it's incredible.
And the interesting thing for people that are out there that don't think your vote matters, if it did matter, they wouldn't be trying so hard. Like you need to really hear that. Like if your vote doesn't matter, they wouldn't be trying this hard to prevent you from being able to vote. They wouldn't be restricting your voting location so that there's not hundreds of people that are voting in your location, but tens of thousands of people voting in your location. They wouldn't be putting out the ballot boxes. In Ohio, they were actually removing all of the ballot boxes and most of the on-street mail boxes, so people could not submit because they were able to, I think they were able to submit their early voting as early as the beginning of October. So like they're doing everything they can, and when I say they, I mean the GOP. Let's be clear. They're doing everything they can so that you can't vote.
That's craziness. So be diligent, make a plan.
I did read last week an article, a really great article in USA Today. I forget what the title of it was, but a really good article about on the election day. And for me, it was just really affirming because it was talking about, okay, well, what's going to happen on election day and how are the votes going to be counted? Because so many people, there was like, I think over 300,000 people, I think it was 300,000 people or 3 million people have voted early already, okay? So these are votes that still have to be counted. They have to be validated and counted, right? So what's going to happen is on November 3rd, when they're calling the states, the votes that they'll be able to count as they're starting to call like states. Oh, it looks like Ohio has 70% of the votes in, and blah blah blah. So it's trending this way. They won't be able to call them probably between 1 to 3 days after November 3rd, because a vast majority of ballots are coming in through the mail. So it may, in certain states, look like 45 is like leading, and that's because his constituents generally are going to vote in person. They've all been instructed with their rallies and all that kind of bullshit to vote in person. Why? Because on November 3rd, where whoever is going to be the presumptive president usually declares that particular night. But it's all a game. So don't get discouraged. Get out there, send your ballots in.
Snack.
Be prepared.
Make that line the damn club. Yeah. Come on.
For real.
You're about to lose your job.
Okay.
You're about to lose your job. Hey. Seriously. I meant to play that when I was in there and I forgot. I was like, damn.
I also want to say this too, because this is something I've been personally battling with. But don't let your fear of Trump possibly winning stop you from voting. Like, although the system is rigged, and although the system is built to, is built for those in the 1% and for, white people in the higher class, don't get discouraged and don't give up fighting. Because if we do that, then we're not moving the needle forward, and we're not making the future better for those who come after us. So although it may be discouraging and it may feel hopeless, your vote does matter, and don't ever forget that.
And when you're voting, for those of you voting, please vote blue all across the ticket. Don't just vote for the presidential office. We have so much to lose even if we're able to flip the presidential office. If we're not able to flip, those that are in the Senate, if we're not able to flip those, we're not going to be able to do anything. We're going to be in a deadlock. So you need to vote blue all down the ticket.
Yeah, I agree. Don't just push one button, hit all them damn buttons.
Right.
Speaking of Atlanta and white people doing things they shouldn't be doing.
Girl, Atlanta Pride.
Can we talk about, we had an incident here in New York and Fire Island when the pandemic started. Can we talk about what the hell are they doing over there in Atlanta?
It was crazy too, because I saw it all, a bunch of stories of people that I know of in this city, and Garris sent a DM to us. He's like, girl, what they doing down there? I'm like, I know. And here's a fucked up thing, the crazy thing. It was Hurricane Delta down here. So it was storming so bad. It was like my friend Chris, who does music and everything, his studio flooded. It was raining so hard. So I'm like, these gays, specifically white gays, a lot of them. I did see a couple POCs scattered in, but majority of white gays,
salt, a pepper, and a sea of salt,
were partying so hard. And I'm like, this is great. And to the point where the Atlanta Pride Coalition had to put out a statement saying, we have not sponsored any club parties this weekend. Everything is virtual Pride. So please do not get us mixed in with what we're seeing on social media. Corey, so we did dinner that night with a friend, and Corey, where our friend lives, had to go through Midtown where the neighborhood is. And he comes in, he's like, the amount of people that were at Blake's when I just strolled by, he's like, it was insane. And the one that a lot of people saw online was a circuit party at District here in Atlanta.
At District, yeah, from 3 to 7 a.m. at that too, girl.
And I was just like we don't need to party that hard.
I ain't never been. So.
That is prime time, but it's just come on. And the thing is, they were doing the normal Pride stuff, the normal circus stuff, where you're hugging up on people and kissing on people and drinking.
Oh my gosh, I've seen so many so many people's IG stories of them, not them themselves, but of other people that were there that were making out with every person that walked by, and and there was obviously no social distancing at all.
None.
And all the things that I keep hearing of every other, all these schools that are coming back and whatnot, is that, we are expecting another spike, and it's because of reckless behavior. Yep. And these people have chosen to put themselves in a situation. And I think, if memory serves me, wasn't there a person that ended up dying? Over the course, it was
they died at that circuit party. At that circuit
party. Oh, wait, early on, are you talking about, or from Atlanta?
From Atlanta.
At that
there was
circuit
an article
party.
At that circuit party that a person died from a drug overdose at that party.
Yes.
Wouldn't be surprised. Not surprised at all. So, it's sad to hear that, but they knew what they was doing.
And at the same point in time, listen, maybe the virus is reading out the right people. Because if you that stubborn, that you will not stay your ass at home because you are so desperate to go out for a little party or whatever. Not a little party, for a big party.
A big ass party.
A big ass party. You gotta go. It's a wrap. You gotta go.
Too much. So I
wish it was weeding them out. They keep showing up, so I don't think it's weeding out the right people just yet.
I know, we need the right thing.
And I said the white people, not the right people. Let me clarify.
Ooh.
And this is Minoritea Report.
Boy, I guess so. The tea has been spilt.
Speaking of other things,
so we have hour 47. Where we at? Where we going?
iPhone. Are y'all gonna get it? I know y'all watched that.
We talked about it last week, and I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it.
But which one are you gonna get though?
I'm gonna do the Pro Max.
You're gonna do the. See, I'm not doing the Pro Max. I have a Pro Max right now, but I think But I think I'm deciding between the mini and the regular Pro. Because
would you want a phone that small again?
I do.
Yeah.
My favorite iPhone was the 5. The 5, 5.5, and the 6 because of the size. I could touch everything with one thumb. You know, with the Pro Max, the biggest problem for me, because I don't use it for like playing video games and like, ooh, I'm going to be doing this. Right. You know, I literally, I work from it. You know, she about those side effects, sound effects. But I miss having like a phone that A, fits in my pocket, because the Macs don't do that, and then B, that fits in my hand. Yeah. But I do like the fact that it's like 15% slimmer, 15% lighter, and I do like the fact that you get more screen space. So I feel like if I went from the Pro Max to the regular Pro, I get all the extras that the Pro gives you, but with a phone that's comparable.
It's still like
an
inch and a half, almost, and I don't know what we're talking about. Inch and a half smaller screen size real estate, though. Yeah. So I don't know. I think the regular Pro, if I weren't to get the Max, it'd almost probably just be the iPhone 12, because I don't know if the Pro is that worth that much more money than just the regular 12. It's the same size.
It is $300 of a difference of the low end, because like the 12 is $799, and then the low end of the Pro is $999. $1099.
No, the Max is
it's $999. Yeah.
So $200, and it's literally not that much different. So
right, because I think because it's the fourth camera on the Pro. That was one of the biggest differences. The fourth camera on the Pro, and then also kind of like that little bit of stabilizer that the camera does too. That's in the
Max
Pro.
Gets it, not the Pro.
Yeah, the Pro and the Pro Max both have the same features and functions. It's just the difference of the size.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's why. That's why. I mean,
bank account on
look. Okay, go ahead for it, because I watched the 2, and from what I saw,
pull it up now.
Go for it. And a real-time correction, I love it. But I again, like I was telling you last week, the features on the phone aren't drastically different for me. So I don't know if I'll get it. I will say this: once my current phone, because I don't buy mine straight up. I'm a Negro. I'm poor, so I do like the leasing part. So I pay mine off month to month.
I do the plan.
So I'll do once that's up. I'll probably just go ahead and get the 12. I don't think I'll get the Pro, because like you, Dewan, I just feel like that's just too big. Like I kind of with like you, I want to be able to do everything on.
And the new Pro Max is actually bigger in size than the current Pro Max, and I'm like, really? I'm not going any bigger than what I have. So I would rather, but it's still bigger. And
that does add up in size.
For me, I'm just like, I mean, for me, like I really don't want. The only reason why I got the Pro Max this time is because I wanted like the better camera. That's the only reason. And so I think if I do go with the Pro, I'll likely go with just the regular Pro.
Same.
Because again, I'm on the little leasing plan. So, you know, like if I'm paying $30 whatever bucks a month, it's going to stay $30. So why not just get whatever the new phone is, and then, you know, whatever.
So the Pro has a dual optical stabilization. The Pro Max has a sensor shift optical stabilization. So that's the one where the sensor is actually moving. The Pro has a 2-time optical zoom. Pro Max has 2.5 optical zoom. Digital zoom on the Pro is only 10x. Quote unquote only, and the Pro Max is 12x. So that's what the differences are on those cameras.
Yeah. That's not enough for me.
Yeah. I like the larger size. I'm used to it at this point, and luckily I could like my hands are larger.
She got them big hands.
Ow. You see now.
Wow.
But I could still at least like use one hand and do what I need to do, kind of thing. And so I think it would be hard for me to go to the mini. But if I weren't to do the Pro Max, it would probably just be the iPhone 12, because I don't think the 12 Pro is worth that.
You don't think it's worth the difference between the whatever?
Between the regular 12 and the 12 Pro. Like, I think the 12 Pro is a waste. Like, I don't know why they even did that one. Especially if the Pro and the Pro Max are going to be the same now, like it has been.
I mean, but the intent of the Pro is because it has like professional capabilities.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's the intent. That's the intent of it. You know. So what they're doing is giving you features and price points and sizes in both kind of like the regular and the Pro form. So I could imagine next year they'll probably come out with a smaller Pro, a regular Pro, and the Pro Max, and then they'll do like the same thing in the regular 13 or whatever they end up calling it.
Yeah, they already.
I'll probably get the Pro and start at OnlyFans.
Do it,
professional video. And then y'all find me on the back of a milk carton.
We got like 3 minutes. So what's one last little thing we wanted to hit on?
Oh, congratulations to the young man and 12-year-old that is going to Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Like, what was his name? Something Anderson.
Like Aeroscience or Aero.
Well, yeah, but I want to get his name. I forget his name. Something Anderson. 12-year-old prodigy set to study aerospace engineering at Georgia Tech. Caleb Anderson is his name.
Yeah.
12-year. By the age of 1, he was reading. By the age of 2, he was doing sign language, and by the age of 3, he was speaking 2 different languages. Okay? 3 different languages. And they have videos of this too.
Didn't they say that his IQ is higher than Albert Einstein and the guy in the wheelchair?
Oh, the one that just died.
Bill Nye sticks in my head, but that's not him.
Alexa, shut up, Smithy.
What is his name? Not Bill Gates.
Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, she don't remember Nan's name. She don't remember Nan's name.
He'd be Monday morning giving us all the tea, reading us for filth.
Yeah, but shout out to that young man. That made my week just to see a young black man.
Come on, ATL.
Right at that. 12 years old. Come on now. We love to see it. We love to see it. He's so damn smart and humble too. He's like, I was watching the interview. He was using these big ass words. I said, "Oh, come on, little boy."
You commoners could never.
Right? He was like, "It's like an anomaly." And he was like, "I guess I'm one too." And I was like, "Tell him."
Right. We had a shit ton. We probably won't get to. Ariana Grande, I guess, is releasing an album, so the gays are going crazy right now.
Shut up! When?
Oh, okay. Another gay just went crazy.
I love me some PonyTea.
She, I guess, it tweeted today, and she's dropping it by the end of the month. So within 2 weeks. So we might have it by the next episode.
Yes.
Dewan, we can't hear you, Dewan.
Damn, I had it on mute. New York, the sounds of the streets, they be, honking and shit. Kerel, have you started reading Mariah Carey's book yet?
I got through the first chapter. I'm gonna I haven't said on here, so
okay, then I won't say anything.
Oh yeah, don't say anything because I hope to have it done by hopefully the next week or two. I'm hoping when I'm on a little vacay next week to get to it. Yeah, I didn't say that because I don't want the community to be like, "Oh, Kerel, you say your ass at home." Yes, this whole time, but finally taking my ass out of Atlanta in this house.
According to social media, according to social media, anybody that sit up there and say, have anything to say about somebody traveling, we all connected to all of y'all. So we see where y'all be going.
Everybody. I ain't going nowhere since February. Right. So taking my little ass out this house finally.
First of all, your ass ain't little. You got a big old booty, girl. You better stop
taking my big old booty down the best for all the boys to see. And my Speedo. How about that?
Big old booty, girl.
Yeah, I got me a couple new ones. I was like, oh, see this body. Yes, you see it. Oh no, you be rocking the Speedo. I saw you over in Palm Springs too. Jarrell be everywhere.
Yes, ma'am. What? I saw that.
And your caftan
I was like, come on now, you're putting your business all out in the streets.
Ooh, that one picture with the wig on, had her thigh on. I was like, bitch, you better serve.
Landon FaceTimed me and took videos too. I gotta show you. Landon has videos and pictures of me.
Landon, we did this. We need that ASAP.
It's so funny. It's so funny that you have the same, we have the same koi caftan. So when I saw it on you, I was like, I knew exactly where this bitch got
Corey
from.
wants that one. Corey shows me that, he shows me all of them once a week because he already has a shit ton of shit ton of them. He's like, "Ooh, have you seen these?" And he's like, "And it's like an Arab guy that like runs the company." I'm like, "Okay, boo, I think
just moved to Chicago. If I'm
yeah,
not
he
mistaken.
is. He's
he
in
used
Chicago
to live in New York.
He follows us now, actually. By the way,
yeah,
start following us.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's a little speed round there. The big part of it. Thank you, Queer Doc. Thank you.
Yes.
Community,
Dr. Crystal, that was amazing.
Questions, and we'll try to get her on again. Maybe it's like a quarterly segment of any kind of like medical question you guys have.
Check-ins.
That'd be a good idea. That'd be a really good idea.
Because we didn't get to all the questions that you guys sent in, and Dewan had a bunch of questions too that he like. So we just ran out of time.
Yeah. But I do like that we're doing this because I feel like for a lot of the questions that we get through Ask the AunTeas, and y'all please continue to send your questions to us, aya@minoriteareport.com. But there are just certain things that we've held because either we've got a guest that is more qualified to be able to provide advice or answer that specific question. So, if you guys have a specific question that you're interested in that, might not be necessarily about relationships or whatever, go ahead and ask us, because likely if we don't, we will likely bring somebody on who can answer that specific question for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And next week we have another special couple guests. We'll put a post up, but by the time you hear this, please send us any money-related questions, debt-related questions, anything around money. Credit card. Money! But send it to us at aya@minoriteareport.com. DM us, whatever you need to, because we have some great guys coming on next week as well. So until then, enjoy your week. Wash your hands, wash your legs, wash your ass. Go vote. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.